So part of doing this and sort of organizing this is to explain like a little bit about the artist process. And so for us, you know, we were doing a lot of hikes, and Matt had mentioned our interest, our sort of beginning interest in foraging, mushroom foraging. We were doing this a lot during COVID, especially with our daughter, mainly just to get out of the house and, like, you know, have an opportunity for her to be outside in nature and for all of us to get some exercise. So being able then to take those experiences and blend it with some additional research and a lot of readings. There's a reading guide also on the gallery's website. Started to help us figure out, like, wait, we can blend these two. This can be part of like our next project.
I'm Dr. Dan Duran. I'm a professor at Rowan University, and where I work with Dr. Kitson as well. And my background is in a couple different areas: environmental science, entomology. I mean, a lot of people just call me an entomologist, but I work so much with plants at this point that I'm not a botanist, but I'm pretty familiar with plants. And it's fun for me to get more and more into plants all the time, as if you're an entomologist and you work with insects, you kind of have to know plants because so many insects eat plants, and there's such a tight relationship there. I have been foraging for 30 years, so I'm pretty familiar with what plants you can eat and what plants you cannot. Let's take a walk. Oh, it's good.
You see that little, like, this area?
It's a blackberry. Yep. Oh, this is one of our native blackberries. And the blackberries are every bit as edible as any blackberries you would buy at the store. I would argue they're slightly better because a lot of our fruits that we get at the store are actually bred to be bigger, which means more water content, which means more dilute, which means not as tasty. And so when you get the wild ones, they're usually a little bit smaller, but they're honestly excellent. That's an Earth Star.
Oh, Earth Star, yeah. These are very cool.
Very cool.
That is like the most Pine Barrens fungus of all.
Wow.
I actually had one marked on the trail later to show, but this is a better one than the one I had seen.
Very cool. I haven't seen one of these before.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, we probably, you know, the edibility of mushrooms is really what got us into it, but the other reason is that they're so awesome and weird and alien. And which is another thing we actually really wanted to capture in our installation, is that you know, there's just such a strange beauty to all this stuff out here, but fungus in particular. And this is
like a bronze sculpture.
I'm so glad that you saw this, because I don't think we've seen these yet. We've only seen photos.
Like the most Pine Barrens.
That's cool.
Mushroom there is. Yeah. So this here with the shiny leaves, this is an awesome forageable plant. I'm gonna say, if you want to try it, grab a leaf and crush it up or chew on it, and tell me what you think. It's American wintergreen or tea berry.
Tea berry.
Yep.
So do you forage this, and if so, what do you do with it?
So what you do is you take the leaves, you collect a whole bunch of them,
If you don't want to.
and then you actually, not everyone can do this because not everybody's over 21, but what you can do is you can then take vodka and put the leaves and the berries into the vodka and let it sit for about 6 weeks.
Get him, man. Let me have that plant.
And then you end up with this awesome wintergreen or tea berry extract, which you can use to flavor ice cream or soda or anything you want, and it's really fantastic. I make tea berry ice cream that 100% of people have liked that I've given it to. So it's actually closer related to amoebas than anything else, and they move slowly, very, 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 very slowly. They can actually basically walk, but they pour themselves onto the whatever they're living on, and then they pull themselves back onto the new spot. And they very slowly, over many hours, move millimeters. So I want you to see, these are beautiful. These are little orange slime molds, and they're really cool. This is mountain laurel. This is the state flower of Pennsylvania. It should be the state flower of New Jersey too, I think.
Mountain laurel?
Yeah. Anybody ever seen the flowers?
Yes.
They're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Gorgeous white or pink or sometimes even rose colored. It's got really waxy leaves, have one big midrib there and not a lot of cross veins. It's usually a shrub. This is a pretty small one. It can get to be, 10, 15 feet tall.
I mean, it really does talk about looking around, like, you know, this whole
Right.
idea of not always just going forward, but spending time just looking literally around you. And it's a very different way of thinking, especially when you're like going on a hike or tour, when you're always moving forward. And then here it's like, actually, let's think about circles and expanding and turning.
This is pitch pine, yes. And in fact, very often you will find ones, this one is not, that have needles coming straight out of the bark. If they get hit by a light fire in their past, they will actually just start putting needles right out of the bark. This is a fire-associated species. It's possible that the reason where we came in is not very pine barrensy and is more like intercoastal plain could also be because they don't get a lot of fire there. They're not ornamental. They can get to be, you know, 50 feet tall. They're usually like 30 feet tall. But you know, they can get to be 30, 40, 50 feet tall, and they don't make the classic Christmas tree shape like a white pine does.